When he was a kid, Jeff Joseph went to the movies, not so much to see the films, but for the coming attractions.
Come closer. I want to talk to you. I'm going to tell you an astounding story. The story of the Maltese Falcon.
He loved these high-energy encapsulated versions of Hollywood movies, which were often more entertaining than the films themselves. As an adult, he happened onto a box of old trailers at a yard sale and has never looked back. Joseph has amassed the largest collection of movie trailers in the U.S., and perhaps the world, over 45,000 of them. But this isn't a museum, it's a business. Joseph sells the trailers for use in television documentaries like, well, this one. But while Joseph has been searching for his beloved movie trailers, he sometimes happens onto the real treasures in this story, ones that were never intended to be seen by the public. Like this screen test of a young actress who was just starting her career. At age 22, Audrey Hepburn was being tested for the part of the princess in Roman Holiday.
But did you entertain the people there yourself? Is that how you began?
No, not quite how I began. I went to ballet school once I knew I was settled there for quite a while. Didn't know how long the war was going to last, so I went to a ballet school and learned to dance.
This piece of film so impressed executives at Paramount, they called it one of the best screen tests ever made. It launched the career of one of Hollywood's greatest stars and got her the part in a movie that would become a Hollywood classic. Joseph finds these lost pieces of Hollywood history by looking at hours and hours of film he has salvaged, searching for those treasures that have long since been forgotten.
I think in Southern California you can probably find film just about anywhere you look because there was so many people associated in the movie business. We never quite know what it is we're getting. It tends to be kind of a grab bag, a treasure hunt. I mean, the fact is most of the film I go through winds up being junk.
What Joseph loves to do more than anything else is sift through the hundreds of thousands of feet of film he has saved from the junk heap, looking for those lost gems of cinema history, like this one, from the Marx Brothers classic, Animal Crackers.
It's an actual scene from Animal Crackers, a very short scene, about 13 seconds. It's a rehearsal, though, because as you can see, Harpo is not wearing his wig, he's wearing a bathrobe. No one even knew it existed in the first place. I mean, the fact that they shot color footage in the 20s in basically a lost color process that no longer exists, and that the footage managed to survive is pretty amazing.
Sometimes he finds something that has a poignancy one only realizes many years after the fact, like this clip shot on a soundstage at Warner Brothers in 1956.
Humphrey Bogart was going to make a movie with Lauren Bacall called Melville Goodwin. They did some costume tests, and then shortly thereafter they found that he had cancer and the film wasn't made. But we have the original 35mm negative for the test.
As far as anyone knows, this was the last time Bogart ever stood in front of a movie camera. This special effects sequence has been sold numerous times for use in shows about how the effects are created.
That's a shot of the Red Sea coming back together from the silent version of the Ten Commandments in color. And it's basically a special effects shot before it was edited into the film.
And sometimes he finds footage not shot inside the studio, but just outside.
These are some Hollywood home movies shot in the 40s by an unknown filmmaker. You have about 30 minutes of color Kodachrome footage. There's Hitchcock and Ingrid Bergman going to lunch. And there's another shot with Hitchcock and Ingrid Bergman and Cary Grant also. This is from Notorious, when they were shooting Notorious. The person who shot this was someone who just loved movie stars. It looks to me like he took a camera and put it on a tripod and mostly shot it on Melrose near Paramount Studios, because most of this stuff is shot right about there. The gate of Paramount and then some restaurants that were on Paramount. Movie stars have to eat too.
What makes this footage really unique is the opportunity to see these stars of the 40s in color, because almost all their movies were still being shot in black and white. The value of found footage like this can be enormous. An hour-long documentary using just 15 minutes of Jeff's clips can bring in over $65,000, and he gets a lot of business. Although Joseph is always looking for stacks of cans stored in the garage and attic, the real hunt takes place right here. Because once he gets the film, he still has to see what's on it.
There's just so much stuff, and there's so much stuff always coming in. You kind of just have to have a feel for what's valuable and what's interesting. Really, I probably wouldn't have even looked at this reel, but we were kind of going through everything, hoping to find something that was usable. And there it was.
A screen test of one of the greatest stars to ever appear in the movies, Greta Garbo. One of the greatest and certainly the most mysterious of all Hollywood movie stars, Garbo had retired from the screen at the absolute height of her career.
I think the Garbo footage is my favorite only because it was the first major thing we found. It's just a great piece of film that didn't exist before we found it.
Walter Wanger, the producer of her greatest hit, Queen Christina, was hoping to lure her back to work. It had been 7 years since she last appeared in a motion picture, and the star wanted to make sure her looks would hold up on the big screen. So she insisted on a test. In May of 1949, under tight security, 2 of Hollywood's top cinematographers secretly shot tests at the Chaplin studio on La Brea.
She insisted on a test to see how she looked on film, and for whatever reason decided she didn't look good. So she didn't do the film. She never did another film. I mean, that was it.
Biographies of Garbo all refer to the missing test. It was always assumed the famously controlling star had it destroyed.
So when I found it, I realized what it was, but it had been lost for 30-odd years. It's terrific. This piece came out of some fellow's garage in Hollywood, mixed in with a bunch of newsreels.
There is no other Hollywood footage of her after this test was shot. Garbo moved to New York and went on to become the world's most famous recluse. She avoided being photographed with a passion, and except for a small amount of candid footage, she successfully disappeared, completely from sight. This test, then, is the last footage ever shot of Greta Garbo, the last time she ever willingly stood in front of a movie camera. Joseph has been offered over $100,000 for this clip, but he is happy to just license it for use in documentaries about Hollywood.
There's a lot of stuff out there that's completely useless, but every once in a while you find something pretty cool. Everyone tends to have some film somewhere, in an attic, in a garage, and it's slowly turning to vinegar as we speak because film does deteriorate, but we'll get it someday.